Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 12.5 million Pennsylvanians are depending on us to pass a budget that invests $29 billion. $29 billion. And some folks on the other side of the aisle tonight want to compare it to kids going shopping at the mall. Unfortunately, tonight we've heard a lot of campaign rhetoric, some catchphrases like, "It's time for a fresh start." We've heard about election year ramifications and the next administration. There is a tremendous responsibility that this chamber has to do, and campaign rhetoric should not cloud the decision-making process. Mr. Speaker, the rhetoric tonight from some on the other side of the aisle has been that school districts are spending down their reserves, as one member put it. The reality, though, is that in 2013, school districts in Pennsylvania added $445 million to their reserve fund. In 2012, they added $350 million to their reserve fund. And as our schools, as the appropriation chairman put it, are deteriorating under this governor, since Governor Corbett got sworn in, public schools have added $1.6 billion to their reserves. And the last gentleman said that property taxes are going through the roof under this governor. But let's look at property tax increases across the state under the last governor. His first 4 years in office, property taxes went up 7.8%, 7.0%, 7.3%, 6.1% under Governor Rendell. Those were the state increases to property taxes. Let's look at the first 3 years under Republican leadership. Property taxes went up 3.7%, 2.9%, and 1.9%. Doesn't sound like property taxes are going through the roof under this administration. It sounds like we have a 30-year problem as it relates to property taxes. And if the other side of the aisle is committed to saving Miss Battisti's home, who lives in my district, that lost her home because she paid off her mortgage with her husband's life insurance policy and was a $6 late fee, turned out that the county government took our home. If you're serious about stopping that problem, then let's work over the summer to come back here in the fall and not tinker with property taxes. Let's eliminate property taxes. But to say that property tax increases under this governor or under this leadership are going through the roof, the reality is that's not the case. The reforms that this caucus put in place with our Republican colleagues on June 30th of 2011 are what have slowed the growth of property tax increases to 1.9%, 2.9% over the last 2 years. The smallest growth of property taxes in a 2-year span in 30 years. Record investments in education, Mr. Speaker, and closing loopholes that allow school districts to raise property taxes at the Rendell rates is why property tax growth has slowed. But this caucus and many of us are committed to eliminating property taxes. And Mr. Speaker, while the other side wants to talk about chronically failing school districts as it relates to our state investments, Pennsylvania spends 25% higher than the national average on per pupil spend. We spend almost $15,000 per student in Pennsylvania. And while we all share that we want increased classroom investments, the reality is we don't make those decisions in this chamber. We didn't make the decisions in the last 15 years that while school districts lost 60,000 students, we didn't make the decision to hire 17,000 more employees. We didn't decide to keep 500 superintendents employed, 500 business managers employed. Those are the decisions that we grant to our local school districts. And this chamber is committed to making record investments without raising taxes. That's the choice. And while the other side wants to talk about future years and future administrations, I think they should spend the same amount of time with the campaign rhetoric as building a budget proposal like their Senate colleagues did. At least spend the time to put your own proposal on the table before you criticize us for the entire 3 months of the budget process. I urge a passage of 2328 so that we can give Pennsylvania what they want, an on-time budget that makes record investments without raising taxes.